Here. Jeff and I have been talking about doing this call for, I think, a few weeks now, and we finally were able to coordinate some timing for everything, and I'm super excited about this. So time management is one of those things that I might be one of the less skilled people to teach on, but that's only because I've come through poor time management all the way to the other side, and we'll just say that I'm in a realm of better time management. But I'm going to teach you guys a little bit of the things I've learned across the way, and some of the tips that I'm using now to help manage my time a little bit better, because we can all be doing better. We all have steps we can take to get better little by little. And so I just want to work with you guys and give y'all some practical ways that you can do that. So what I want you to consider when it comes to leadership, because I think we're all in a position of leadership, is that you have your time already going a lot of different places. A lot of us who've ended up in leadership with Young Living got here because we had a lot going on, and we just figured out some ways to filter Young Living on top of those things that we were already busy with, which kind of just made us more busy because we're adding into that schedule that's already pretty crazy, and that can be really hard to do. So I don't want us to see Young Living as something that has to be inserted into these other places. I want you to see it as something that can enhance that. We probably all fell in love with network marketing at some point because of that claim of time freedom. And whether or not you've found it yet with Young Living, it does exist. You just have to create that, and you have to learn how to adapt your skills to get you in a place where you can truly feel like the time that you put in gives you freedom for the other things in your life. So one of the things that my husband Bronx asks me all the time is whether or not I love what I do, because I'll have a lot on my plate and it totally stresses me out. And, we'll be at the house and I'll be like, gosh, I've got to get over and do this thing. You can see I'm in my classroom here. We actually have a space for our team here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And so this is our team classroom. And so I come here and work now, which has been really great to get me out of the house. But it does keep me going back and forth a little bit. And he'll just turn to me and he'll say, babe, do you really love what you do? And he's concerned. He's concerned that maybe I don't anymore, or maybe I'm just stressed. And I can tell you that every single time he asks me that question, I will just whip my head to him and go, I love what I do. What are you kidding? And so we get overtaxed and we get overstressed, and we have all of these things building up. But the bottom line is you have to love what you do, and then it makes time that you put into it feel a little bit less stressful. It still makes my schedule hard, but I really do love teaching my classes, being with my team, even just things like scheduling stuff for Facebook and writing out my plans for the next few months. Those things energize me. And because they energize me, I want to do them well, and I want to make sure that I'm managing my time well as I do that. So the first thing that I want to suggest for you guys as you are thinking through the way that you manage your time, is as you go through your week for the next week or for the next, however long, I want you to think through the things that you love about your job and think through the things that you don't love about your job. Because those things, do we have a lot of background noise going on? I don't think that's me, but okay. Some of the things that we would probably all agree that we love about our job are the things that we enjoy doing, but there are things that we don't love about Young Living that you still have to do. So you need to find a way to schedule those things in more specifically for yourself. So don't focus all your time on the things that you don't love to do. And I'm going to give you some tips on that in just a second. But ultimately, realize that this job does require time, and you don't need to beat yourself up for working hard, because you get places in Young Living when you do work hard. So a little bit about my story, just so you know where I came from. I started using oils in January of 2014, so about 2.5 years ago. And I just signed up as a member. I didn't have any dreams of doing this as a business. I was actually very disinterested in the business side and kind of hopeful that my sponsor would never reach out to me in that way. And then a couple of months later, I had my first oily success with my son, and he slept through the night, which was life-changing for me. And so I bragged about it online, and I got really excited. And sure enough, people were interested, and they were excited to hear what was working for me, a mom who had been maybe over prone to sharing her struggles of sleeplessness and early motherhood and all of that. And so people were really interested in that. And so I began sharing oils somewhat quietly at first. And then as our team began to grow, we began to grow, and we grew very quickly. I went from beginning to share oils to the rank of diamond in 10 months. So it was a very fast journey. And what I will tell you is this, that was a marathon. That was me working around the clock. Once I had an eye on the prize for what it was, and for me, diamond was that prize. I was like, if we can get to diamond, I'm going to feel like a rock star. So getting to diamond was the thing that I had my eyesight set on. And so because of that, I was willing to put in the time and the work. I was willing to work when my kids went to bed. I was willing to work during nap time. I was willing to flip through my phone and answer messages while I was stirring a pot on the stove at dinner. And doing all of these things did not feel like a sacrifice for me. It felt like something I was doing on purpose for my family. And now I will tell you that was a really hard season, and I don't know if I would duplicate that again. It was really difficult. I don't recommend that people work the kind of hours that I was working, and I don't want you to do that. But I also don't want you to trick yourself into believing that you can work 3 hours a week and become a diamond. I don't want you to think that you can give it 30 minutes after bedtime twice a week, and that that's going to be enough effort to grow your team to the next level, because it's just not. This is a job, and you need to take it like a job, and you need to work it for the rank you want. Now, does that mean that if you want to be a diamond and you are just getting started, that your first week you need to put in 40, 60, or 80 hours? Absolutely not. And I will tell you that now, as a diamond, I probably work here in my office. I try to work about 25 hours a week here. Might have a class outside of that I would be here for. But other than that, that's it. I could have gotten to diamond in that time, but now I know the tricks for how to spend my time. And so a lot of the time that I spent early in my journey was really very wasted. So those weeks when I was working a lot of time and I was, just hoping to keep my kids busy while I was getting things done around the house and multitasking on the phone or whatever else, a lot of that was wasted. And so we have to call time what it is. And sometimes time is not being used well. And we need to be willing to put on our big girl pants or our big boy pants and recognize when we are wasting time and we're acting like business owners, and when we are wisely using our time, and when we are walking in the role of a seasoned business owner. And it can take on a lot of different forms. One of the things that I've done now that has made a big difference for me just in distractedness. I've heard a lot of people say, take your phone and take Facebook off your phone. Just take it off your phone. Don't have it on your phone. You shouldn't have any notifications. Take it all off. Don't do that. And I'm just here to say that doesn't work for me. If something comes up and I need to address it with my team, I need to address it. I need to have an audience with them quickly, or at least just to see what's going on. If somebody says, hey, we have a crazy post going on in here, can you just see what's up with this? I want to be able to check that and not be trying to look in my browser window and make that work. So I have not taken Facebook off my phone, but what I have done is I've taken the notifications off my phone. It doesn't ding. It doesn't pop up a little bubble and tell me how many notifications I have. I do have some scrolling messages that come up on my phone, but not all of them. And I'm not afraid to turn off my messenger notifications for an individual feed too, which if you don't know how to do that, you need to do that. I have a couple of leader feeds with my team where those girls just talk all day long. And I'm like, I cannot be distracted by this. And so I'll turn it off until 8 a.m. for an hour, however long I need to turn it off. So don't be afraid to do that. The big piece in planning ahead that I feel like resonates the most with me, and this is what I want to teach to my team. I heard this, I was at Lindsay Moreno's Unconvention this weekend. It was phenomenal. I was so blessed that she opened it up to some crossline people to come, and it was just such a blessing for me. And one of the things that they said is something I've heard a million times, okay? You've probably all heard this statement, we're running a marathon, not a 5K. And I've heard that so many times, but I feel like it finally resonated for me. And I want to explain to you guys how it resonated, because it really just set into me in a whole new way. What they did, I don't remember who was speaking. I apologize. I can't remember who it was that was saying this, but they likened it to silver is your 5K and diamond is your marathon, or Royal Crown Diamond is your marathon, however you want to title just that rank, that series of ranks. And they said what happens is a lot of us put in the time, we like double up on all of our effort. We put all of our energy into hitting silver. And I see this over and over in my organization. I know from other friends that you guys are seeing this in your organizations, but we just like pile in all of our effort to hit silver as though we are planning and practicing and gearing up to run a 5K. And then what happens is we go whoosh and we get to the end of that particular run. We cross the finish line at the 5K and we're like, oh, silver, okay, we made it. That was tough, but I did it. I pulled it all together and I've done it. And then we see people behind us and they keep running, because they didn't sign up for the 5K. They signed up for the marathon and they're not done. But you know what? They prepared for a marathon. And so we get to the end of the 5K, we hit silver and we're like, oh my gosh, okay, there's more. Wait. Okay, I didn't prepare for this. I don't have enough Nixia and Nitro in my waistband. I need more water. Does anybody have more water? Wait a minute. I don't know if my legs can make it. Does anybody have any Cool Azul? What's going on? And we see these people shooting by us and they're ready to go. Whether that's because they planned their structure, whether that's because they planned their time, whether that's because they planned in 100 different ways, they're ready to run that race all the way to their marathon. Whereas we just planned for this 5K. So we hit the 5K and we're like, oh my gosh, we've got like 20 miles to go and we're not ready for it. So if we instead on the outset, and if we would teach our teams on the outset that you need to chill, you need to chill. You need to take a step back. You do not need to be working 40, 60, 80 hours a week on a regular basis. You do not need to be doing that. You need to figure out how to balance this thing into your life, into what you're already doing. Yes, you're going to make some adjustments. Yes, you're going to tweak some things you're doing. Yes, this is a job and you're going to take it seriously. But just chill, because you are going to be running this thing for a while. Don't wear yourself out. I feel like we would see the energy on our team shift to this energy that can maintain for the long, long, long haul, instead of seeing people just buzz their way to silver and then wear out. And honestly, that is the saddest thing for me when I see people who are at silver, which granted is a phenomenal rank. I want everyone to hit silver. I really do. But I don't want them to stop there. The worst thing you can do is build yourself to 2 legs, get to silver, and just stall out. And you can't keep pushing past that. So structuring your time well is going to help you do that. So I'm going to give you 4 quick time tips. These are just 4 little things that you can do for your time. And then I'm going to give you some overall concepts on just spending your time, how to spend your time, and some things to do for that. So the 4 time tips that I have for you guys, number 1 is to use a scheduler software. I use ScentShare. I love ScentShare. I don't have an affiliate link or anything. I probably should, but I love ScentShare. Now, I will tell you, if you're not familiar with what a scheduler is, basically it's a third-party software that lets you go in and plan out posts. So if I'm feeling really motivated by ScentShare, C-I-N-C-H share. And so, you know, if I'm like, oh, you know what, we're doing a Nixia Red challenge or a Nixia Red discussion in my oily discussion group, and I want to make sure that I'm educating my team every day for the next week on this topic. Well, instead of having to remember to go into my group every single day and make that post, instead I can just sit down. I can take 30 minutes at the front of the week or 2 months ago if I want to, and you better believe I do that. And I can just sit down and I can schedule out all those posts. I can make them as personal as I want to. I can add a photo with them. They're actually changing the features now, so we're going to be able to put multiple photos in one post. And it's a great way to maximize your time. You can do events. You can do a Facebook class that way. I have done month-long series for my team. I just sat today and scheduled out a series for October. So every Monday in October, my business group is going to get a post that I just scheduled out. The only thing I really don't do with SenseShare is things on my personal wall. I feel like if I am posting something on my personal wall, I want you to hear from me. I don't want you to hear from me 3 weeks ago. I want it to be relevant and new. And of course, I'm always posting in my business and my user group on a regular basis too. But, obviously if something comes in stock, like the granola that just came in stock, I can't plan that. I mean, I had to know that today. So it also helps for like if you get a day ahead notice on a promotion or something like that, you can go ahead and schedule your little thing out to go up first thing in the morning, and then you don't have to think about it in the morning. It's a great time saver. Second thing is less days, more work. Okay, and this is something that I've just recently started doing. Used to be that I would try to chunk my time every day, and I would try to create these pockets of time each day to work, and I'd work every day. And that was fine. I love my job. It doesn't bother me to work every day. I do try to take Sundays off or Saturdays, just kind of depending on the weekend, what works best for our family. I try to take a Sabbath one time a week. Sometimes we do classes on Sunday afternoons after church, and that's totally fine. But I do try to take that time off. But less days, more work. So what that means is instead of working a little bit, 6 or 7 days a week, I take 3 days a week and I come here, or you could go to Panera, or you could go wherever, set up some childcare, do what you need to do, but take fewer days and bigger chunks of time and get more done. Okay, take your to-do list with you and knock out a couple of things. So I found that by time blocking is actually one of the things I have on my list. I don't time block. My fourth point on my time tips is time blocking. I don't time block. I don't find that it works well for my brain. I'd rather just know like this is work time and this is lifetime. But still finding this chunk of time a few times a week when I can really buckle down and work. My husband and my kids know that's my work time. I'm going to sneak away and get stuff done. That has been really helpful for me to make sure that my time is better spent. For me personally, I feel like when I sit down at my desk and I gear my brain into work time, the first 30 minutes of that are totally lost. Just completely wasted time. I am maybe getting lost in Facebook. I maybe get distracted by something on my news feed. Maybe I get in my email and I see a sale on something and I just get like totally distracted somewhere else. So I pretty much have to gauge that the first 30-ish minutes of my work time are going to be kind of worthless. And so if I'm doing that less times a week, if I'm doing that 3 times a week instead of 7 times a week, then that's a whole lot less time wasted over the course of the week. So that works really well for me. The next thing, number 3, is to use a timer. And so I would recommend that you either use an app on your phone or grab yourself one of those little like egg timers. Remember those things that you like turn all the way around, and sit it right on your desk and time yourself. Give yourself 15 or 30 minutes to get your calendar sorted, to get classes scheduled, give yourself an hour to write a class. But if you're working against the clock, I promise you're going to get stuff done a whole lot faster. If you just have this open-ended day where you have this list of things to do and like maybe you'll get to them or whatever, you're going to take a lot of wasted time throughout the day. Whereas if you're constantly turning that thing 15, 20, 30 an hour, you're going to chunk your time a whole lot better and you're going to get through a lot more stuff that way. You'll also find yourself, if you're red personality like me, you will want to challenge yourself, and you may make a note that like last time it only took you 30 minutes to get that trip to Utah scheduled, and this time you want to see if you can get it done in 20 minutes. I do like to challenge myself on these weird things. Okay, so then point number 4 was time blocking. I mentioned a second ago. Again, this doesn't super work for me, but there are some personalities that this really works for. So time blocking is when you take your calendar, you take it a day at a time, a week at a time, and you just like chunk out family, husband, kids, work, whatever else you might have, school, your other job, whatever you might have going on, but you just mark out that time, and that's all you allow yourself to happen within those blocks. Some people find this to be a really effective tool for managing their time. Again, it doesn't work for me really well. You have to know what your strengths and your weaknesses are to really understand what's going to work for you. Okay. And I'm a fast talker, as you guys have figured out. So if y'all have any questions about anything, please feel free. I've got the comments or the chat pulled up. So feel free to ask a question if you want me to address it either now or when I'm done. I'm going to talk now about, well, let me give you one more tip, and then I'm going to talk about 5 ways of how to use your time. Okay. So one more tip, and I guess we could put this on time tips if you wanted to make a number 5, if you're a note taker like I am. One of the things that really works well for my team and works well for me in general is to use Google Drive. Google Drive, if you have a Gmail address, you have access to Google Drive. It's basically like the files on your computer, but it's sourced off-site. You can access it through an app on your phone, on your iPad, on your tablet, on your computer. So anything you dump into Google Drive, you can get anywhere else. That's a great time saver if you are doing graphics or anything else that you want to keep where you can access them from anywhere. If you're like me, you might use bedtime when you're maybe sitting with your kids as they fall asleep to like schedule a post or do something. So it's nice when I can pull things right out of my Google Drive folder. But the other thing that I love Google Drive for, and the thing that I find the most value in, is that I have a shared folder for my team. And so my team has a resources folder. So for example, just this morning, I had 3 separate people ask within like 30 minutes, that some of them sent me a PM and some of them posted in the groups, but they said, does anybody have any tips on doing a make and take? And so I knew I had a bunch of resources on my laptop, things that I've collected over time. I had a few things in my Google Drive folder as well. And so I went on Google Drive and I went into my Joy Dropper leadership resources folder. And right under that, we have a ton of subfolders, and one of them is for classes. And then in there, I just made a little folder for make and take. And so in there, I went ahead and just chunked in all the resources that I had for make and takes, just the things that I've been collecting over the years. If you're like me, whenever I see a resource, I just like collect it and dump it in a folder somewhere just so I have it later, as though I'm ever going to find it, because that is just honestly not going to happen. But I did find a few things. So I chunked them in this Google Drive folder. And then I just went into my business group and I made up a quick graphic. And I said, hey guys, it was just a make and take resources. And I said, don't forget we have a Google Drive folder for the team. Here's the link to it. And click into the classes folder and you'll find make and takes. And I had like 20 people respond on that already this morning because they were simultaneously looking for resources for make and takes. So why is that a time trick? Well, it's a time trick because I could have answered that question 4 times separately this morning, or Susan, no, it's not password protected, but it is private just for our team. So it's a link that we just keep privately for us. So it is just kept in that Google Drive, and everything is there. I can upload it and change it and do whatever. Other people can add into the folder as well and put their resources in there. And it's just easy for us to manage it as a team. So it's a great place for us to do that. A couple of questions that you guys have on that. Hard copy planner, I use whatever I can find. Right now I'm using one from Target that I just think is pretty. I don't really have a preference. I know a lot of people who do time blocking like the Passion Planner. When I tried time blocking, I also liked the Passion Planner. I do not like time blocking now. I'm not using that kind of planner. As far as having the documents uploaded to Google instead of Facebook, absolutely. Facebook files, in my opinion, are kind of a hot mess. You cannot find anything if you don't know exactly what you're looking for. So yeah, it's pretty awful if you're trying to find resources in Facebook files. Plus, the Facebook files are designed for individual file uploads, and with the Google Drive system, you're looking at a file format. So you can have like a big file folder that you can put 40 resources in for people to take. And exactly, not everybody is on Facebook. So it works really well. It's a great way for us to share stuff like that. Okay, let's talk about how to use your time. So hopefully you have carved out some time. You've gotten really specific with when in your day is good for you. Maybe you just have nap time. Maybe you just have an hour before you go to bed. Maybe you just have an hour because you get up early in the morning before you go work your other job. So whatever time you have, you need to be using that time really, really wisely. So here are a couple of ways that I would recommend that you use your time. Some things that maybe you haven't thought of. First off, I will tell you that many of the leaders that I regularly communicate with would tell you that your time needs to be partitioned so that 80%, write this down, 80% of your time is spent prospecting. Now, we get to a point with Young Living where we consider ourselves leaders. And we think that with leadership comes the ability to micromanage everyone around us. And so we're going to monitor our Facebook groups and we're going to monitor our downline viewer, because we can obviously spend an hour getting lost in there just clicking around and running searches or in Oily Tools or in something else. We're just going to spend time doing these things. And that somehow by opening all of these windows over and over and over, it's just going to magically grow our OGV. That's not going to happen. See, what happens is your team will spend time doing what they see you doing. So if you want your team teaching classes, you need to be teaching classes. If you want your team enrolling new members, you need to be enrolling new members. If you want your team doing any manner of things to grow their business, you need to model that. If you would like for your team to spend the majority of their time monitoring things on Facebook and answering questions and posting informative blurbs about how they can use Pure Protein Complete, then by all means, show them that. Totally model those things for your team. I think, on the other hand, that it is way more effective for me to model for my team how I'm prospecting, how I'm bringing new people into this business, how I'm bringing new people into being users of our product. And so I spend my time doing that. Now, one of the ways that I show my team that is we champion every month all of the people on our team who have gotten new enrollments. And so we spend a lot of time shouting out in our business group when somebody's gotten a new enrollment, when somebody, of course, has hit a new rank. But at the end of every month, I create a graphic, and I should have printed it out to show you guys. I'm sorry I didn't have that with me today. I didn't think to have that prepared. But I always have a graphic ready where I call out the top 10 enrollers on our team at the end of the month after numbers have like finalized and kind of shifted out. And so every month I put up this graphic and just announce who the top 10 enrollers are. And then I try to get my name on that list, because I should be one of the top 10 enrollers on my team. You should be one of the top 10 enrollers on your team. You guys should all be enrolling people more than your downlines should be. If you want to model that kind of leadership and growth for your team, then you need to be doing it too. Which means when you sit behind your computer desk and you spend all that time busy, you need to be making sure that that time is spent prospecting, following up with people who are curious, reaching out to people who have asked you questions before. And then the flip side of prospecting is number 2. The second biggest way, in my opinion, that you need to be spending your time is by spending that time on your personally enrolled. Okay, now listen, this is kind of a new thing for me. I'm not going to lie. If you're watching this and you're one of my personally enrolled, you may have just laughed out loud. Okay, it's a true story. Because I definitely got to the point of leadership where I had this big team of people to manage, and I felt like I had all these things to do, and you feel fancy at some point, and you want to just meddle in what everybody else is doing and give them suggestions and yada yada and all this other junk that just wastes a bunch of time. And so I had this really nasty habit of enrolling people and then entering them into the buffet of all of our resources and letting them know all the things that were available to them and trusting that they would do like I did, which I was incredibly intrinsically motivated once I caught wind of this business. So I didn't really need help. I really didn't need a whole lot of help with the product either. Once I knew I wanted to do oils, I just dove in. And so for my personally enrolled, I have often made the assumption that they will do the same. Now, those of you who might be on this call that are personally enrolled by me, obviously that worked out well for you because you're on a leadership call. So something in yourself took off and you grew with it. But the truth is, along the way, I've actually lost a lot of personally enrolled people to inactive status because I've just not followed up well with them. And so I am telling you right now, I'm turning a leaf. Talked with one of my platinum leaders this morning about that. And we're just going to kind of champion that together. Babysitting your newly enrolled is not the most fun thing ever, but if you're not doing that, and if you're not seeing their excitement as they find a new success or a new story with oils, then you're really missing out on what can be one of the most fun parts of this job. So I'm taking it upon myself to make sure over the next several months that I spend 80% of my time prospecting new people, and of the 20% that's left, the majority of that time I want to spend reaching out to my personally enrolled. And I will tell you, I have a lot of personally enrolled. I have more than anyone on my team. And it means that the shifting of that might occur where I may be spending like 40% prospecting and 40% on my personally enrolled, only because I owe them back time. And so I need to kind of flip that back around. But regardless of where you are, even if you have a team of 30 and you have 2 personally enrolled, they deserve a bulk of your time. Ultimately, you want to duplicate what you're doing. And so the only way that they can know to do that is by actually spending that time with you so that they can duplicate what you're doing. And that can look like a lot of different things. It can look like phone calls. It can look like texts. It can look like emails, Facebook messages. It can look like offering to plan a class for them, with them, including them, whatever that might be. It can look like just calling them to see where they are on their health journey and seeing if there's any advice that you can give them or a resource you can direct them to. There are a lot of different things that might look like for you, and you need to figure out what that is. Each person's going to have a different situation. So if you're dealing with 2 people or you're dealing with hundreds of people, regardless, you need to be plugging into those people individually and making sure that they feel very, very cared for. Okay, the third way to use your time then, so we have our prospecting, our personally enrolled, and then we have our leaders. And actually I have number 3 being leaders and number 4 being education. And those really are both so very necessary. You need to be caring for your leaders and you need to be educating your team, because obviously if all we do is bring in new people to this business, then we're not educating the people we already have on board and we're not keeping them in this business. And if 92 or 93%, I don't remember which in the latest income disclosure, but if 90-something% of Young Living is product users, we have to remember how incredibly valuable those users are to us. Forcing someone on the shift to be a business builder is not necessary for them to be valuable to our organizations. I'm telling you, if I could just get like 70% of my downline to order every month, and I guarantee the same for you guys. If we could get 70% of our downlines ordering every single month, it would totally revamp our businesses. So that education piece is super important. Now, okay, so we had prospecting, you're personally enrolled, leaders, and working with your leaders, however they need you to work with them, education, and then number 5, one of the best ways to use your time wisely when it comes to the education piece is to team teach. And this is something my team is getting really, really good at, especially with this space that we have here. I can't teach everything to everyone every time. It just doesn't work that well. So if I have other leaders locally who can teach classes well and who can do a good job with that, then we want to merge our resources and do that together so that they can work together. Because if Julie does a class and Jen has people who are invited to that class and there are more people there to learn, there's a lot more energy in that room and they can work together. So reach out to your local leaders, like reach out to your local friends. It's okay if they're not in your up or your downline. Can you teach together? Can you guys share that resource? Can you teach one month and they teach the next month? Can you guys share that so that you're not working so hard? And then also, can you share your class resources? If you've got a great 101 script and you want to share that with some Crossline or some team friends, by all means do that. If you have the permission of the person who's created that, share that resource. That's something that you guys can do to use your time wisely to share your class agenda, share your class titles, share your make and take recipes, share class notes. All of those things can be used really effectively to help with your time. So those are some of the main points that I have for time management, but I still have time here to spend with you guys. So if you guys have some questions and you'd like for me to answer them, I'd love to do that. I did see Daniela, you asked, what is the most effective way to educate? The most effective way to educate is always going to be one-on-one with someone, when you can answer their questions, when you can just spend that time, find out what their needs are, and really just get that relationship built. Because when you have the relationship, then when they have a question or a concern, they're going to come to you with that. If all you do is educate through like a Facebook blast into your groups, you're going to miss a lot of people. I think we all tend to assume that because we put it on Facebook or we put it in our groups that people will see it. People will definitely see it, and they will respond to it, and they will be so thrilled that we shared our information. And the truth of it is that the algorithms with Facebook are not good, and they are not helpful, and they are not wonderful. And your posts are probably not being seen unless people are seeking them out. Doesn't mean that you need to post a million times more. Just means you need to be aware that that personal connection with people is way more valuable than something online. Let's see what else we have. My class space, that's a great question. This is, we did not start this space until about 2 months ago. So I actually don't necessarily recommend trying to duplicate this. It's a very expensive endeavor to rent space and outfit the space with furniture and product and all sorts of other things. We have about 2,500 to 3,000 team members right here in Knoxville. And for me personally, we were renting an Embassy Suites ballroom 3 to 4 times a month. And that was just kind of cost prohibitive for what we were trying to do. And so that was just a situation where my husband and I really just prayed about it and felt like this was a better use of our resources to have a dedicated space where we could teach. We also are using the space for some other things. I teach a bi-weekly Bible study here and do a couple of other things with the space as well. So it's become something that we can use for a lot of different reasons. And that's been great. And we do have, because of this space, we do have classes open for our team all the time. I have leaders who teach here regularly, so it's not just me teaching. And so I've opened that up for my local silver and above leaders to have access to the space. So it's worked out really well for us. Let's see, what else? Monthly oil club meetings. I don't know what those are, unless that's just monthly meetings that you're getting together with your team. Any other questions? Y'all have anything else? Jeff, do you guys want to pop in? Y'all got any questions for me?
Anybody else have anything? How many classes do you recommend a month?
Okay, so how many classes do I recommend a month? It's totally up to you. Classes are how I started my business. I started with a few friends on the internet, but locally, we obviously have a big local team, and classes are what made that happen. The number of classes is not super important, but I will tell you the consistency of your classes is the most important. You don't have to do 6 things a month, and I don't recommend that you do, personally at least, like that you personally do 6 things. But what I do recommend is that you consistently have classes available, because what will happen is you will have a class where no one will show up. I have had that happen. I know you're shocked, right? But it does totally happen. And if you have nobody show up, but you've been talking to 4 people and those 4 people don't show up, but you were expecting them to, you can always play it off. Hey, we had a great time the other night. I totally missed you. I wish you could have come, but don't worry, we have another class next month. And as long as you keep that cycle of classes going, then people don't really have the time to freak out about it. Like if they're interested one time, they'll just come next month. It's not a big deal. And then you don't have to see it as a big deal either. So if you have nobody show up, it's fine. Maybe you needed that time to refresh on something else. So you have the time carved out and use it for a different part of your learning experience. For advertising our classes, we advertise them just within our team. Everybody kind of does something different for that. So you might You might advertise your classes on Facebook. I don't think that's the most effective way to share classes with people. I think people want the one-on-one. If you're reaching out only through Facebook to invite people to a class, they're not seeing that. Think about how many invitations to different things you get now. It's just very saturated, and people ignore that. So a real phone call or text or communication in some way is way, way, way more important than doing some sort of a Facebook invitation for that. Google setting for our shared folder, it's just private. So it's just private. You have to have a link for it. It's really easy to set those up when you get into Google. So you can do that very, very easily. How do we motivate our group to attend? We get a lot of no-shows. You just keep having classes. One of the fun things that you can do to get people to come is make sure that everybody there is taking photos of the class. So encourage them. If it's a bake and take and you have supplies out on the table, encourage everybody before you get started. All right, everybody take a picture of your place setting, or take a picture as you go through today of your favorite step, or take a picture of your final product, or take a picture of you and some friends here. You can always use some sort of a hashtag thing and do a giveaway based on that. Or you can just tell them to put it online and ask them to share out how much fun they've had. When people see those pictures, they're going to reach out to you or to them and ask questions. If you just post after a class and you say, hey, we had a lot of fun tonight, and you have nothing to show for it, then there's not really anything that people feel like they've missed out on the experience of. But if you can show like a room like this, or just your living room full of people, or 3 people, or whatever, having a great time, or show your stuff that you have prepped before class an hour before you get started, and let people know that you have a class going on. When people can see it, it's more tangible and they want to be there. So encourage people to share in that way. And no, I don't use a texting service. I've considered it, but I don't at this point. Any other questions?
Erin, I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
So first of all, is there anything in your business that you are outsourcing? Anything that you are hiring or paying somebody else to do?
There are a few things. I have an assistant. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. I do have an assistant. I've had someone part-time for, I think, a year and a half.
And what does she do for you?
I'm sorry?
And what types of things does she do for you?
Well, we have some items that we, like resources and things that I'll buy in bulk, like welcome books and things like that. I'll buy in bulk for my team. And then we have a Joy Dropper store that they can buy resources from. So she does some of that shipping. She also helps take care of all my monthly rank gifts for my team. Any giveaways that I do that need to be shipped out, she handles all that kind of stuff. She does, what else? She helps with the classes. If we do setup for a big class, she'll come and help me set up for that. That kind of stuff, just the kind of things that I can pass off. I probably could pass off a lot more, but I'm a bit of a control freak, so I have a hard time letting go of some of the details. So,
and then also something else you mentioned, which is true, right? 90% of our members are product lovers, right? They use the product, they love the product. And, there's a small percentage that are out there sharing Young Living.
Right.
So how are you helping your people transition from the lover to the sharer phase in this business?
Oh, sure. I think Young Living makes it really easy for people to go from just a product user to a product sharer. I think the product itself is really easy to share. It comes with all those little sample bottles in the starter kit, so you can really easily just start filling stuff and having it in your purse. I would also encourage you to have things for your team, whether it's online or it's in person, where you're just helping people come and learn how to make things. So make and takes, that kind of stuff. But even if you're just doing like an intro class, teach people in an intro class how to make stuff. If people know how to make something really simple, they're way more likely to make something and share it. So you can also tell people at a make and take or at an intro class, while you're making this bath salt, or while you're making this tummy roller, or while you're making this whatever, would you want to make a second one for someone who you think could benefit from this, and maybe allow them the resources and the ability to make a second item if they have someone specific in mind that they would want to share that with? I think that's some of the more tangible ways to take that casual user who just wants some education and to show them how simple it is. And while you're doing that, just tell them a story. Man, this is how I got started. I'll tell you what, that lavender and frankincense in the diffuser made a huge difference at my house. And, we just really loved it. Do you have anyone who you think could benefit from a sample of that? I keep an extra diffuser over here. Would you want to loan it out to her so she could try it and just see if it would be helpful for her family? And just simple ways like that you can, as the builder, just inspire that confidence into that user and jog their memory. I mean, we could all sit down and jog our memory and think of 5 people who need oils who don't have them yet. And because we call ourselves builders, we feel really, or whatever you call yourself, sharer, leader, whatever, you may feel really awkward about contacting that person and saying, I really think you need some lavender. I really think you need some stress away, or whatever it might be. But for some reason, a user, a brand new product user who is just in those first stages of joy about their kit, they don't really think anything of it. I mean, they're like, yeah, I totally know 4 people who could benefit from that. Yeah, why don't I go ahead and get them a sample together? And I'm just going to go ahead and take that over there. And they don't see it as like we held ourselves back as business people because we don't want people to think we're trying to sell them something, which is stupid, by the way. But those new users don't feel that. And so we need to leverage that more often. That was a long answer, but that's what I would recommend.
All right, any other questions? The biggest things that were most effective to grow to diamond in 10 months. That was, when you said 10 months, you weren't joking, right?
What? I'm
that's
not
ridiculous.
I don't joke about how fast I hit diamond.
Okay.
That's not a game. I did hit diamond in 10 months. And it was a crazy 10 months. Some of the biggest things that we had going on for the team, we had a lot of communication. We had a lot of shared goals. We were working together very, very closely. We did a ton of classes locally here in Knoxville, and then we also have team all over the place. I have a big team up in Indianapolis, and then the rest of my team is all over the U.S. I've enrolled in like 40 states, so I have people all over the place. And so we just talked to everybody, and just taking that user and turning them into a sharer is the fastest thing. When people see success, again, okay, Ansley, you're asking the same question. When people see success for themselves, just like I did, they go, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And either you immediately think, who can I tell? Or you need to prompt them, that's amazing. Who needs to hear your story? And get them thinking immediately. And so it's not that you're growing builders so fast, it's that you're growing sharers so fast. So if you can take all of those initial stories, it's also a reason why I talked about our personally enrolled are so important. I can tell you my first year, I was on top of my personally enrolled. I knew what was going on with every single one of them at all times. And so when they had a success story, it was like, boom, who can you tell? What can we do with that? Before they even knew it, they were sharing. And that's how so many of them started building and ranking up right off the bat. Making takes across the country. I mean, just like I can do a make and take, anybody can do a make and take. I do not have local upline. I do not have upline that ever built a class for me, that ever structured under me, that ever did any of that. So just like I said, I think I need to do a class, and I figured it out, totally just figured it out through Google and YouTube. They were my best friends as I built my business the first few months. I figured out what to do. I figured out a make and take. I don't love make and takes. They're not my favorite thing to do. I have other leaders who like to do them more, and they tend to do them more than I do. But just like I figured it out, so can they. You don't have to be local to help somebody figure out how to do a make and take. It's very, very simple. Oh, hey, Ansley from Knoxville. Any other questions? Jeff, you got anything else?
I mean, honestly, Erin, I could go all day and ask you questions.
I got 9 more minutes. Go for it.
Well, I mean, it would probably be hours, but
okay.
No, I think this has been great, Erin.
Thanks.
It's been awesome, Erin. You know, anytime anybody asks about time management now, I'm just going to send them to this video. This
wow.
video. Jeff and I
I've not mastered this. I just know what to do. Okay.
Jeff and I were sitting here taking notes, and we're like, what did she just say? We're like going back and forth while you were what you were presenting here. So thank you so much. Such an amazing job, guys. So please show Erin some love in our comment box. She mentioned a lot of great things, and one of the things that I really love, because I work with a lot of silvers, and that are, they got to silver really quickly, and now they're kind of like, oh, what do I do, and they've gotten away from the whole 80% of prospecting, and we really go into that. So I'm really glad you touched on that, and I'm glad that you said that it's a marathon, not a 5K, and really not just have that silver be your 5K and be, okay, I did it, now I'm going to rest, relax, I'm going to go into, like you said, management mode, check my Facebook and then manage that and do that. But I'm really going to focus on what got me here. And I'm going to get back to prospecting. I'm going to continue to do that. And then those 5 tips that you left, I mean, amazing. Right on down from that. So,
yeah, it's funny. Not funny, but, anytime we do these calls, we post a little, social postcard on our region page or on our Facebook groups. And then we start to get the comments. And, I don't know if you saw the comments, Erin, but there were people saying things like, one of the best entrepreneurs that I know, just how amazing you are. And honestly, hearing you speak, it doesn't surprise me that you went diamond in 10 months, right? You can clearly see why you're so successful. So thanks for taking time and sharing. I know I appreciate it. There's things that, like we were taking notes, there's things that I want to do now for our region. Things that we can do, like a prospectors list. I have a region prospectors list. I think that'd be effective. So a lot of good information. So thank you very much, Erin.
Sure. Absolutely. Anytime. I'd be glad to come back.
Awesome.
All right. Next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye, y'all.
Thanks so much, guys. Take care. Thanks, Erin.